All right, so basement developments, like what other basement developments have you done recently or in the last year? Maybe have you done any basement suites or any of that type of stuff?
A lot of in-law suites. They're becoming more and more popular. And yeah, a lot of just standard basements. People just want another family room and some bedrooms usually is majority of it.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Now, let's talk about the separate dwelling unit or basement suite that you've put in. What kinds of things are people putting in there? Like what is the process for you doing that? Of course, you have to think about a kitchen. You got to think about load. Like, do you have to upgrade the panel? Like, what are other things that go into planning for a basement suite or a separate dwelling unit?
The biggest thing is if it's a legal suite, you have to put a full separate service in, electrical service for the basement.
Okay.
So it's got its own meter, its own panel. Every circuit in the basement is tied right back to the basement panel.
Okay.
That's the biggest thing with the legal suite. The in-law suites, a lot of the time, will put a separate panel in there. So if they ever want to change it over to a legal suite in the future, it's easy. They just have to run a feed to the street, and at least the basement itself is wired to code for an in-law suite, for a proper suite.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of the times they'll have like a wet bar, so it's got a sink, dishwasher, and then a couple counter plug circuits. That's more, a lot of the time the customers are just looking for something for if family comes and visits, they have somewhere to stay for a few days and they're not upstairs the entire time with the family.
I see. So are you putting in a full kitchen or just partial kitchen?
Usually just partial ones. It will be just, dishwasher, sink, and like a small fridge. And then like a toaster, microwave, or something like that.
Oh, I see.
So you can make some meals, but no, usually not. If it's an in-law suite, 90% of the time we'll have a range in there and a full kitchen. But most of the time it's just a small kitchen.
Okay. So just a small kitchen so people can do their thing. So have you done a lot of these things?
Not a ton, probably one of every 3 or 4 basements once, something like that.
Okay. And then mostly just people wanting more space.
Yeah. It's more finished space. They're tired of looking at vapor barrier.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's one thing that we don't do here in Alberta is finish the basement with the rest of the house. We usually do it a couple years later or never. One or the other. Okay, so let's talk about air conditioning units. So you've been doing some AC hookups. Tell me about that.
Yeah, we've been doing quite a few of them. They're pretty straightforward. We just run a separate line from the panel outside, install a disconnect, and then run from the disconnect to the AC unit.
That's how I started in doing electrical. I worked for a guy. He was just a small company, and we did a number of those. That was our bread and butter. We just worked for a local company here, and we just did all their electrical installs for AC. So I know all about that. Sometimes they're simple, and sometimes they're not so simple.
Yeah, the fastest ones we can get done in like an hour. The other ones are like an all-day thing.
Exactly, because sometimes you're running conduit on the outside to get it to where the unit is, and it's not straightforward because it has a finished drywall ceiling, so you're having to go outside rather than inside trying to fish it across. And a bunch of troubles can be when you're doing the electrical hookups for air conditioning units in the Red Deer area. So what about permitting and stuff? Like, do you call to get the permit? Do you get the homeowner to do the permit on those?
I usually just take care of all of it. It's easier that way, and then I just have a form on my computer, just fill out and send in.
Perfect. So what other things are you doing now?
Permanent Christmas lights are starting to get busier. It's that time of year people are thinking about it. Did lots of those. Lots of work in restaurants.
Oh, restaurants. What are you doing in restaurants?
Everything. We did ice maker yesterday. Someone's ice maker stopped working, so we changed that. Helped them get that going. Done a few signs. So looking up signs at restaurants and putting some exterior lighting up for that.
Okay, so like Celebrite lighting for that or something?
No, just like a decorative lighting outside, just fixtures and stuff like that.
Okay, so some wall wash type stuff.
Yeah.
Like outdoor lighting, wall packs, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Photo cell control.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you've done restaurants and you've got some Celebrate lighting. So maybe we'll talk about that because it is the season coming up. Talk a little bit more about the exterior, soffit fascia lighting stuff. The ones that you're doing now, do people typically when people get them for their house, do they want anything else extra with that, or is it strictly, what are the reasons that they say they want to get Celebrate lighting for their house?
A lot of the time they don't want to put Christmas lights up anymore. Usually when it's time to put the lights up, the weather's turned and it's not fun. And the other thing that we've found a lot of people want to do is, for whatever reason, in Red Deer, when they build houses, they only put pot lights on the main level. So the upstairs of your house won't have any pot lights on the outside. So it looks kind of strange when you have them on and the whole top half of the house is dark.
Yeah, the whole top of the house would just disappear.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't exist. You just have a bottom and you can see the garage and the front, area of the house.
Pretty much, yeah. So a lot of the time the Celebrate lights are almost the same price as putting pot lights in after the fact.
Oh, wow.
Like within 10-15% normally.
That's pretty reasonable, really, because and pot lights are they're a pain in the butt to do after the fact, because you're having to cut holes in the soffit and you have to fish wire over, and then you got to get to a workable circuit there, and
and you're fishing stuff into the attic, and then usually by the time you get from the roof upstairs back into the house into the attic, the fish tape's fallen out and you can't find it, so you're back outside again trying to push it through, or you can't find it at all and you're in the wrong spot, or parts of the attic aren't accessible. It's just the worst.
Can be a nightmare.
So.
It can be a nightmare. So doing the Celebrate lighting. So when you're setting that up, do you rely basically on what soffit plugs are there? Are you adding circuits? How does that work?
Normally we come out of the garage if the house has a garage, and we run everything through the attic space in the garage to wherever we're going to start running the track. And once the track's in, we can there's no more running wires. As soon as you get the wire to the first piece of track, it's all just inside the track. So it's all nice and hidden and looks nice and clean afterwards.
Okay, is it 120 volt, 12 volt? What is it?
24 volt.
24 volt, okay. So you run it to a controller first, and then from the controller you get to...
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So usually you put the controller in the garage and then run everything from that.
Okay. And how many strings of lights can you put on that?
You can have 5 separate runs, and then each run can be up to 1,000 feet.
Oh.
Or sorry, 1,000 lights. So it's
1,000 lights.
800 feet.
Wow, so you could do a full Clark Griswold on the house if you wanted to.
I've done a few of those.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Cool.
Now you do it on the soffit side usually. Do you ever put them anywhere else? Are there any other applications, or?
You can. I've got them on my fence at home, so the fence lights up. It's a white vinyl fence, so it reflects a lot and looks pretty cool. We've put them around our garage door too.
Okay.
And
so just framing it out around the door. Okay.
And I don't know if I'd do that again, just because the track is just a light gauge aluminum, and truck mirrors and kids knocking things over dent it, and then I've changed the track quite a few times.
Okay, all right. So things not to do. With your
or be very careful if you are going to do it.
Awesome, good. Now tell me about the business. So you've been operating in the Red Deer and Central Alberta range for how many years?
This is my 3rd year now.
3rd year. So going into 3rd year, are you fulfilling 4th year, or you finished 3?
January will be the completion of 3.
Nice. So going to be 3 going into 4th year. And, as far as your growth and trajectory, where did you start, and where are you now?
We started, I think between my wife and I, we knew about 5 people in Alberta.
All right. Okay.
So
where are you from?
BC.
BC. Okay. So you came from BC and you decided to start an electrical business. What gave you that idea?
We moved to Alberta for a job, and it wasn't really working for our family. It was a lot of on the road and too much away from home time. I was missing the kids. So I quit that and then started up Lumentek.
Nice.
It's been busy.
Good. So things have progressively gotten better.
Yeah.
That's
definitely been getting busier.
And what are you hoping to achieve, after this first year and the next year? What are you hoping to get to?
I want to grow the company and eventually get off tools a little bit more and kind of specialize more in the industrial stuff, and then have residential stuff mostly taken care of.
Okay. So want to grow, want to make sure that you can do less of that stuff. Really focusing on the the aspects of the company, like the operating procedures, you know, getting more efficient at what you're doing, these types of things to help build the company rather than always being on the tools.
Yeah, we've been working on a lot of jobs now, like an AC install. We have like an AC kit. It's just a tote in our trailer that's got disconnects, breakers. Like all ACs use 30 amp breakers, unless it's like a massive one. So we just have every kind of 30 amp breaker, disconnects, tech cable, connectors, cable, everything like that, just in a tote, ready to go. So never have to leave and go get parts and come back. It's everything's right there. So we've been focusing on doing that for a lot of jobs. But any Celebrite houses, we have multiple different kinds of track, screws, connectors, cable, everything.
So you keep stock on that?
Yeah, for the Celebrite stuff, just because a lot of the process is setting up and getting ladders set up and everything. So it's a waste of time to clean everything up, because you can't leave ladders at people's houses, wait for one more part to show up, and then come back a week later and finish. So we'd like to keep everything there. So the job can be done in one trip, and just cuts down a lot of wasted time.
Right. So when you order a job from Celebrite, like you get the whole thing, then you set up at the house, or do you always keep an inventory of Celebrite?
We do a lot of the common stuff. So any like black track, white track, stuff like that, we use a lot of. We'll keep like 100 feet in the trailer at all times, and then any house that's not a standard color, we just order for that job. But the lights, the starters, the controllers, all that, we stock quite a few of. You never know if you're going to get a faulty controller. It's frustrating to have to come back, and we like to test as we go too. So if we do run into a problem, we know exactly when it happened, where it is, instead of a big troubleshooting game at the end of a job.
Right. And does that happen very often, or?
No, not really. It's usually it's rare it happens, but when it does happen, it's always when you're not having a good day, or if it's pouring rain or snowing. It's never on a nice sunny day that you have a problem.
Oh, never on a perfectly bright day, clear, you know, everything's wonderful. It's got to be in the worst possible
when you're
scenario.
sick or when you're...
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So what other things would you like to work on next year to help grow the business?
Organization's a big one. I want to get more organized, trying to eliminate as much wasted time as possible, and becoming more efficient and organized. It's hard because we do a lot of service work, so you never really know what you're going to run into.
Right. So you kind of need to have someone who is experienced to join your team.
Yes.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Now, who's working with you right now? Another family member, right?
Yeah, I have my brother working with me now. He's a second-year apprentice.
Okay, second year, so he's got a ways to go.
Yeah.
All right.
He's learning fast, which is nice.
Good. So next year, maybe goal would be to hire an experienced journeyman to take care of that and work with your brother, and then you can take care of more of the building up a business, going out doing more quotes, getting jobs, working on the efficiencies and the systems and processes that you might need for the company.
That'd be awesome.
Right? So 5-star reviews are always welcome. But not everybody always gives a 5-star review because they're upset because they misunderstand something. So what? Tell us the story. Maybe we'll keep it in the video. Maybe we won't. Let's find out what happened.
So we got our first 1-star review, which wasn't ideal. But what happened was we wired a garage for a customer. Everything was good. He was happy, and then he wanted.
And it passed inspection.
Yes.
100%. All good. Perfect.
Yeah, there was no recommendations on the inspection report, nothing like that. It was all done as it should be.
So was there anything crazy in this garage that you needed to go do any weird connections or any special plugs or anything of that nature?
There wasn't anything that wasn't standard. There was just a lot of the lights were on individual switches. There's a lot of exterior lights, stuff like that. So there was a lot of connections, but everything was more or less standard. Like it was, any electrician would be able to understand it.
Sure.
So he had a plan of how he wanted to use the garage once it was all drywalled and insulated. And then once it was all kind of laid out, he changed his mind. He wanted a few things added and moved. So he said he could handle that himself. He just kind of asked a few simple questions and thought that was that. Then I got a text message that nothing works and that everything we did was wrong and that we don't know what we're doing. And I was like, well, can you send me a picture? I don't know what you're talking about. And he had every junction box opened up, every single connection open. all of our labels were gone. He had made his own labels on there, and I was trying to zoom in, like, they don't make any sense. And he said, you have to come back and fix it all. Like, you did this all wrong. I was like, well, we didn't do anything wrong. Like, it was working before. You saw it working. You were happy with it. And you've taken it all apart now, and you want us to warranty it, but it's not really a warranty call. It's a service call.
It's a do-over.
Exactly. It's like if you buy a new car and take the motor apart, they're not going to warranty it.
The car's not working right. It was making a funny sound, so I took all the seats out of it.
Exactly.
And I started to rewire it. So that happened. So the guy took apart all the work that you did because he wanted to add something of his own that he could easily take care of, right? But then couldn't get it back together, didn't know what you guys did because he's not an electrician, and then gave you a 1-star review.
Exactly.
That's lovely. So,
and complain that there's different types of wire that we'd use for different applications. Like the heater wire obviously has to be different.
It's
size.
normal. That's normal.
You have to,
Yeah.
It needs to be that size.
Yeah. You don't have a choice.
Exactly. Unless you want a really small heater. And I complained about stuff like that. That was really just kind of stuff that had to be done that way. It's all in the code book. It needs to be done that way.
That's right.
And,
Okay, so that happened. Well, hopefully, a lot of times what happens, people are smarter than that, and they'll be able to look at that and look at your response to it, which was professional, and you kind of addressed all the issues. The guy obviously was just over his head with the whole electrical installation process, didn't know what he was doing, and took apart all your work, yet wanted you to warranty it because it was quote unquote wrong.
Yeah.
Yet the inspector passed it.
Exactly.
And if the inspector passes, that means it's good because they come in, they test the plugs, they test the switches, they look at the panel, they look at all the grounding and bonding, like everything's done. Like once the inspector checks off on it, it's good.
Yeah. Like they might miss something small, but they're not going to miss the whole garage being done wrong and
right.
breakers tripping.
They're not going to be opening up all your boxes because there's the pre-inspection, right? So after you've roughed in, you do the rough-in inspection, and then after it's ready to go for your final, they're
going to know if they can't turn lights on because the breakers trip and
exactly
plugs don't work because they check all that.
And they check for your vapor barrier. If you've got vapor barrier, they check your GFIs, make sure you're functioning, all that stuff. So anyway, fun and games, folks. Lumentek, he's Red Deer in Central Alberta electrician. So if you are needing some help with your electrical, give him a call. He'll be happy to give you a quote and do some excellent work. Just don't take it apart because it's not under warranty. All right? Okay. Thanks. See you next time.